Board of Appeals to order. I want to remind everyone in the audience that this hearing is being videotaped and audio taped, so please keep that in mind if you decide to approach the rail to address the board. To begin our hearing, I'd ask everyone please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. I'd like to state for the record that Member Ryan had an unanticipated schedule change, and so alternate member Mr. Kubicki will be participating in voting on the matters on the agenda this evening. The first item on the agenda this evening. Oh, I'm sorry. I'm starting backwards with the minutes from last week. Gordon, what's the first matter on the agenda this evening?
It's the City of Woburn for the fire station at 38 Central
Good,
Street.
that's what I had. Okay.
Good evening, Madam Chair and members. Good to see you all again.
Good evening.
Been a while since I've been in front of this board.
It's like riding a bike.
Is it? We shall see. So this is a petition for a variance for the replacement of the Fire Station 4 in East Woburn on Central Street. It's on a corner lot between Central and Utica. I have a slide up there now. You probably have the plans in front of you that show the existing building. What we're asking for this evening is a variance from a front setback off of Utica from 25 to 12, and from the opposite side from 20 to 12. Now, the reason that's a 20-foot requirement in an R2 zone is because it's an other permitted use in an R2 zone, so it's a 20-foot requirement rather than a 12 like a single family. Hence the request to reduce it. So the chief's going to come up and tell you why we need the building that we need, and the reason, mainly the reason that we're going to have to ask for the variance is because of the size of the building. Based on the topography and the shape of the lot is rectangular, and I'll scroll down now to the proposed, I think. That's what we're proposing, which shows the 12 feet off Utica, 12 feet off the opposite side. We meet the front setback off Central, and we meet the rear setback by over 30. So the lot slopes to the rear. Utica has quite a hill in it, and if we were to turn this building the other way, you'd see that in one instance, it would push it too far back because technically we need about 50 feet of driveway to get the fire apparatus into the building. But the interesting one is this one. Even if it were able to meet the setback going that way and exit onto Utica, what we're showing you there in the pink is that that's a grade of about a 5-foot drop, and it would be almost impossible, certainly impractical, for the fire trucks to safely exit out of Utica. You'd not only have the slope issue, but you'd have a site issue down Utica. And Utica is also a slightly narrower street safety-wise. So the safest way to go, and the way it's always been, is out Central Street. At this point, I'm going to have the chief come up and tell you why we need a bigger building than what's there, basically as to his needs, really.
Thank you, Mike. Hi, Chief Kenton. So yes, we need a larger building. First of all, the location's perfect. It's ideal for our needs. Need a larger building for more apparatus and more manpower. We plan on putting 2 pieces, an aerial and an ambulance in addition to the engine, and 5 more firefighters. So total of 8 firefighters and 3 pieces of equipment to meet the needs and the future needs of the city of Woburn.
Especially with the growing East Woburn.
With the growing East Woburn, yeah.
With the what?
The growth in East Woburn.
Oh, okay. I thought it said the growing easement.
No.
So what, I'm trying to figure out by looking at the legend, so are we essentially looking at doubling the footprint of the existing building?
Yes.
So if you can look at that page, yeah, it looks like it's just about double.
All right, and so there's one fire truck in that building now?
Correct.
And the plan is one fire truck and one ambulance, or two fire trucks?
A fire engine, a fire ladder, and an ambulance.
All right, so I apologize, I'm not.
Fire
I don't
trucks.
know what the difference between a fire engine and a fire ladder truck, so, okay. And do they have to all be parked side by side?
We spent a lot of time with the architects building it only as big as we need it. And that's the minimum size. I mean, we
That didn't really
can't,
answer my question,
we
though.
can't make the building any smaller. And yes, they have to be side
All
by
right, so
side.
there's no way to have a door at the back and have the ambulance parked behind one of the,
Ambulance has to be housed for temperature.
oh, no, I'm saying in the, yeah, but have a front door and a back door, and the back door, the ambulance, so a narrower building that the ambulance can pull and
You
park
would-
behind the
you-
fire trucks.
I don't think you'd have the depth.
Has that been evaluated?
Rick, come on up.
We could bring the architect up, he's gonna be more eloquent than me.
Oh, I doubt that.
Rick Rice,
Just step back.
Rick Rice is in this for design. The headquarters building is a front-to-back drive-through. That bay is 75 feet deep, front to back. And at the HQ, you have to have 2 units front to back. You need that door in the back, and you need the room to be able to pull in the door in the back. This site just doesn't have that plan dimension, let alone to negotiate that 5 feet difference that Mark mentioned to get from
Sure,
Utica Street up to
right,
Central
but
Street.
wouldn't that be a lot easier for an ambulance to negotiate than one
No.
of the trucks?
It wouldn't.
Don't cars go up and down that every day?
But on site, they would have to go down and get up. It really wouldn't work.
But, so the change in elevations shown on here, it's 59 up to like 63, the existing.
59 to like 63, 64, depending where on the upper part of the site you
Yeah.
measure.
So that just doesn't seem like such a...
Well, if you look, well, the contour lines, you know, 5 feet in Utica Street is spread out over a couple hundred feet,
Yeah,
150 feet. If you were to enter at the lower part of Utica Street and then have to go up to the Central Street side, inside the building, you're trying to negotiate that 5 feet. So that's where the problem comes in. You need that 64-foot plus or minus elevation at both doors.
I guess I'm just having a hard time figuring out how all the people who live on Utica Street can drive up and down it every day, but an ambulance can't? I mean, an ambulance has to be able to get to those cars. houses.
What we're talking about is, I'm trying to address your question about the drive-through nature and putting an ambulance behind that. So imagine you have a front door on Utica, on Central Street. It's at 64 and a half elevation. And then you have a 70-foot deep bay that's at 64 and a half feet, because it's flat in the building. So now you have a back door that's at 64 and a half, and then you're trying to negotiate 5 feet in about 20 feet.
Okay, I get you now.
As opposed to the
right.
gentler grade up Utica Street.
So the headquarters, is that 75 feet so that all of the fire equipment can park front to back?
The number of pieces of equipment that had to go in HQ required a drive-through front to back type of building that was able to be accessed from the back and from Main Street, and there was sufficient level space created for that.
So how long is an ambulance?
An ambulance? 20, how long is an ambulance? 26, 28 feet?
An ambulance?
26, I would say. Yeah, they're pretty long. Well, what's a car, 20, right?
No.
No?
A parking space, a big
Yeah,
parking
parking
space.
spaces.
Cars 18, yeah.
And again, I don't know
And
enough
understand, they
about,
can't be stacked either. You can't have one parked behind the other because you wouldn't get out in time.
well, if there's doors on either end, that's
No,
why.
I thought you were suggesting that if the building was smaller, you could leave one behind another one.
No, I'm still trying to understand why, because I look at this site, so I get the change in elevation, but there's like 90 feet. The current site has a, not polished, 60 feet from the rear lot line, so you have another 30 feet to go back. In any event, so the proposed building is, I'm having a hard time seeing any dimensions on this. Mr. Rice, what are the dimensions of the proposed building? I don't care about the little bump out of the front, but this basic rectangular shape.
The basic rectangular shape is, I don't have it over, 96 feet north to south. That's looking from Central Street at.
96 feet by what?
That's left to right, and I don't have the depth front to back off the top of my head. No, it's not on.
All right, so it's 96 feet wide, it's some smaller amount deep, right? All right, let me ask,
It's approximately 60, 65 feet front to back.
and was a design of, say, 66 feet wide and just basically flip it, if I'm doing the math correctly?
Turn it, you mean?
66 Yeah,
Yeah,
so instead of it being,
You mean facing Utica?
no, still facing central.
Oh.
If it's 66
Oh, you
wide
mean long
at
and,
central, and then it's, 95 feet longer. Is
Yeah.
that one of the designs that was evaluated?
well, I guess you could envision it like that.
That's the building turned, so the narrow dimension.
Let's go down.
Yeah, no, see, that's the same shape. My question was more of a, basically if you flipped this rectangle so that the 66-foot width was facing Central Street, and it goes back.
That's what it would look like, except the front, you mean the bump out would be facing Central. That's what it would look like there, if that bump out were in the front.
Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
not, but it's,
It's long and, it's the same dimension.
So the other things is
but
that
it's a lot further back. So if it's slid up to the line of the existing,
Yeah, these were just to show you what it would look like facing you. You wouldn't have all the doors facing Central though in that scenario.
you wouldn't have the watchroom looking out on the apron in that example. There'd be some other functional relationship that would have to change. But basically, you have a rectangle that's the apparatus bay. It's a two-story space by necessity. The width of the three bays are well-established in firematics for safe access around, and two responding apparatus. And the shaded area on the plans that have up there now are the two-story spaces, which include the necessary firematic spaces that have to relate on the first floor, which are the turnout gear rooms, mechanical and stocking functions for the ambulances, and basically the day-to-day and mechanical needs. And then up above together are the dormitory functions, which need to be together on a floor, which is the kitchen, dining, and the dorm rooms and an exercise room. So it's a very compact shape that really functions. Each component is designed as small as possible with the right relationships for the flow from dormitory down to the fire trucks out and back. And the challenge with all of this is really the change of grade across the site, because yes, everybody's negotiating a 5-foot grade change on Utica Street, but they're doing it over the course of basically the length of the entire lot. Once you make the entire building a single elevation, which it has to be at the first floor, that gives you challenges at either end of that building having to negotiate that 5 feet.
And through the chair to the architect, would you think too that that's why they did the original building way back when? To have the main access there on Central Street. It's a lot easier, isn't it?
It is, well, if you look at the amount of contours that we highlighted in green, you only see really one contour there, so it's relatively flat.
Relatively flat.
It's wider, whereas on Utica Street, coming from the top of the crest of the hill down, you see several contours coming down to where the original building, the original parking lot accesses the lower part of the site from the flattest possible area too. And we're mimicking that.
Yeah. It certainly makes sense to me. I certainly see the topography issues in that right side there. So, thank you.
So could you slide it closer to Central Street?
No, you need at least 50 feet to exit, I believe.
The apron wants to be 50 feet so they can pull a ladder truck completely outside the building and close the doors behind it and not have it half in and half out.
All right, but the building is being built to store the vehicles inside, right? That's this,
Correct.
The chief can explain what to do outside, and basically
cleaning it
they
up.
need to have them out, they clean them, wash them down.
Work on it.
Let me ask, are there any other members of the board have any questions?
I do have a letter from an abutter, one that's right closest to it, most affected at number, he lives at 40. Brian Noonan, I believe. Expressing his support, stating that we are granting an easement to him, so the provisions we've made, he didn't give us a letter of support. Because of that, we've already made that decision, but his driveway would have been greatly affected if we took all the land that we own. He's always been kind of driving over the city property, so we're granting a 5-foot easement. But he is in support, and he's the one that would end up closest to the fire station.
All right, that's not shown on these plans?
The easement is not shown on that plan, but you can see the dotted line. You can see his driveway down at the bottom of the of this plan.
Well, what about the plans that I have in front of me? Can I see them on these plans?
I think so. I think it's the same.
Satellite aerial, you could see it.
Which one? Oh, on here?
SP-01 shows.
This one? Oh, yeah.
On this curve. Yeah, so just zoom in.
Yeah.
There's the easement for the driveway right there.
And that's Brian's house that you see the little outline.
Oh, all right, yeah, I see it.
The
So I
easement's in
was,
gray.
I was looking, yeah. It's in gray. I got it. Yeah, other members of the board have any questions? I do not.
Not at the moment.
No.
All right, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for a variance? Hi, if you could just identify yourself for
Thank
the
you.
record, please.
Hi, I'm Brian Noonan. I live at 40 Central Street, right next door.
I just saw your easement. Yeah.
I'm in approval of the request that they're asking for the variance, and I think it's going to be a very good thing that the building for the city will do.
All right,
So I agree.
sure, thank you for your time. Anybody else from the audience who cares to be heard?
Evening, Madam Chair,
Good evening.
excuse me, members of the board, Mayor Mike Concanon. I appreciate the careful review of this request. It's really an exciting time in the city of Woburn. With the support of the city council, we were able to obtain the authority to bond for 2 new fire stations. The one here you see in front of you at Station 4, and East Woburn is a little further along in the process. Station 5 would be on the west side. We're working through location issues on that one, but we're excited to be able to build 2 new fire stations, significant expense. And I can assure you, as we did assure the city council, we've been working for over a year now to try to come up with the very best designs we can, the most efficient, most cost-effective designs. Every inch of this building has been engineered to give us only what we need, no more, in the most efficient and effective way we can. As the chief and Rick and Mark have been saying, there's a design plan here. There's a flow within a fire station that we need to adhere to. You know, the firefighters come back from a call, they go into the decontamination room, the gear gets secured and washed. There's a way that this building operates. So what you see in front of you is a design that is a result of all of that study and input. And this is the design that was presented to the city council that got their support for this $30 million in bond, 15 and 15 of each of the stations. The goal is to try to use this design as well over on the west side, on the location as identified. So I would want this board to understand that this was as a result of a whole lot of careful analysis, input from the chief, the firefighters who used the building. A team has studied this, and we really feel confident that this is the very best option for Station 4 in East Woburn. It's the best use of the land, and we do believe that this particular sloping issue does present a hardship such that we would respectfully request that this variance be granted. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you as well. Is there anyone else in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for a variance? Any discussion? How does the board wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance.
Second.
All in favor? All right, that passed.
Thank you.
You're very welcome. All right, I have
blue light and everything. Whenever you're ready, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So let me just
6 Russell Street is next.
I haven't found my agenda. All right, the next item on our agenda is the petition of Citizens Bank. Let's, hold on.
Yeah, I'm going to close the
If they're going to
doors.
stay out there, yeah.
Happy hour has started.
It has? I mean, your mic has to know. How are you?
All right, next item on our agenda is the petition of Citizens Bank, care of Heather Duco, 27 Old Meeting House Road, Auburn, seeking a variance to reduce the front yard setback from 25 to 1.2 feet, and a reduction in the side yard setback from 25 to 10.4 feet to install a freestanding sign. Good evening.
Good evening. For the record, my name is Heather Dudko, 27 Old Meeting House Road, Auburn, Mass. And I work with the sign installer for Citizens Bank. The petition before the board tonight is to seek a variance for the front setback and the side setback. Originally, the sign was Woburn National Bank, and we believe it was installed about 35 years ago. And we also believe that there was a variance granted at that time for the setback, but due to how old the decision is, we couldn't find any evidence of the decision, a copy of the application. But that's originally how the sign was installed about 35 years ago. And then subsequently, Citizens took over and they altered the sign for their branding, but the foundation and the pole were not changed, so they just altered the cabinet structure. So the foundation there is 35 years old. And now they're doing a rebranding of all of their locations, and they'd like to remove that sign and replace it in a similar location, but due to the foundation, they can't reuse the exact same spot, so they need to move it slightly adjacent to where the sign is now. And subsequently from doing that, we're asking for the setback of the leading edge of the sign to be 1.2 foot from the property line, and the side setback would be 10.4 foot from the side. The existing sign that's there now has a 3.2 foot front property line setback, and the side setback is, for the existing sign, 7 foot 2 inch. So it'll be in the similar location, but just slightly, a little closer to the street. It's a landscaped area there. I just drove by and they have like some white stones in there, but it's all landscaped. And the sign itself is approximately 16 feet from the street. But the setback requirement is for the property line. But I just wanted to notice about 16 foot from the street. So they are requesting this and they would just like to replace it. It's a new look. They've already replaced the wall signs. And if they were held to the 25-foot setback, they would need to reconfigure their driveway entrance, the parking lot, because it would put the sign pretty much in the parking lot. That's there now. The replacement sign is internally illuminated. It's an opaque face, so only the graphics will light, and the size and overall height meet code.
So on the plot plan, has the location of the little, I forget, the small entrance and exit
Yes.
signs, and it looks like there's a pathway in between there. That's all, it's like grass. Is there a path in between the grass sections where the entrance sign and the exit sign are?
Well, there's two entrances to the site, to the front.
Yeah, you see where it says grass?
Yes.
Saying in the middle island?
Yeah.
Yes, I see that now.
All right,
Yes.
yeah, it said, it's EC is on there. The legend. Right, there is no EC. Edge of concrete. Is that a good guess? I'm embarrassed because I drove by there this morning and I noticed my unsolicited feedback on your little entrance and exit signs is they should just say exit in much bigger letters than the thank you and the little exit that's under it, because it's not really helpful. As you're, obviously that's a busy area. So why couldn't the sign just be put where that little walkway is, 25 feet back, and it would comply with the setbacks? It would be, right? It would be more than, it would comply with both the front and the side setbacks if they put the sign in that little walkway. So that's my suggestion. My other comment is I really have a hard time with the idea that we're going to allow this sign to be even closer to, you have the leading edge of the sign closer to the sidewalk, and there's a telephone pole, and the wires are right there. I think it's, I think that's too close. I agree, the sign looks much nicer. I like that the design is a lot more simple and streamlined, but making it closer to the front, I don't see any hardship that justifies that. So that's my feedback. But I am just one person among several on the board. So let's see if any of the other board members have any questions or comments.
I have one question. I agree. Seems like the sign, the body of the sign, turning where it's getting closer to the power lines, the easement. That's probably out. You are keeping it pretty much in the same spot. Why not just the Citizens logo box? Is it an individual box? That's going to be on the.
It's actually a little smaller in square footage.
Yeah. So could you have just centered it on the pole? So that you have your pole, but sliding the Citizens box that's illuminated more centered, so that you're still getting them the same look that's there, but it's further away from, a little bit further away from the wires and poles. You're still going to get the same visibility, even if you slid it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. It's
Towards the
very
parking
visible.
lot.
There's not, so it's not like, it's pretty bare where that sign is, there's trees around it. There's
Yeah.
nothing that obstructs the view. I like it a lot better, like I said, than the little signs with extra words on it that make it harder to figure out where I was supposed to pull in and exit. Any other comments, feedback?
Yeah, through the chair. I think that the design of that whole lot is challenging because when you pull in, there's like two paths. There's an island and then there's a path. And if you're going around the back, it's unclear whether you should stay to the left or to the right. So, I mean, just the layout of that whole, the way out it is fine, from my point of view, is fine because you circle around and if you go to the teller and then you come through. But I think I wouldn't want it closer. I like the sign that you're proposing much better, but I think it's already close. If it could be either in the same footprint or somewhere either there or further back, either in the center or where the sign is.
And I'll have to agree with my fellow colleagues on here. And one sign that comes to mind is the gas station along Salem Street,
Yeah.
where I actually voted for that because I think they were bringing it further in from it.
Yeah, it was tilting. Remember, it was like leaning towards
Yes,
the.
yeah.
That was another very old post that needed to be replaced.
No, I have the same feelings as just about every other member.
Let me ask, is there anyone in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this petition for a variance at Citizens bank on Russell Street. So I don't get the sense that anyone's going to make a motion
Yep.
to grant this.
I am hearing some suggestions, so if I could respectfully ask for a continuance.
Sure.
Go back
Yeah,
to
that's,
citizens with the suggestions and see if they can.
we have a form.
Okay.
Anyone who asks for a,
And I've got one last question. Of
course.
What was the height of this original sign here? I know the new one's 30 feet, but
22 is the existing height now.
existing height of the...
Yeah.
Actually, so, you had, I think, if I heard right, you said the original pylon, you can't put it back in the original location. So when you put the new sign up,
make some
Both sides
comments
come
about the
down, right?
foundation, because of,
Right, so they don't want to put it, they need to put, if they dig a new foundation, they need to do it adjacent to the existing. They don't want to put it exact same spot because of the age of the foundation.
they don't want to jackhammer it out and do it the right way either.
I mean, you're gonna have to,
No.
you're gonna have to take the old one down before you put the new one in. Anyway, so, I don't, I'm assuming there's a footing there, but if, you could probably get it to be somewhere closer. Because you're gonna have to you're not gonna put the new one up and then take the old one down. You're probably gonna have to take the old one down first.
Right, right.
Just logistics.
I'll just double check with them, but.
Yeah.
When's the next hearing date?
All right, so we'll talk to them and get some new suggestions.
All right, let me just give you a date.
Okay?
So
April 16th.
April 16th, does that work? All right, so April 16th is our next meeting.
Okay, perfect.
So let me ask, how does the board wish to proceed regarding the request for a continuance?
So moved.
Second.
All right, so we'll see you on the 16th.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right, the next item on our agenda is the petition of Mark and 6 Katarina Lane, seeking to reduce the side yard setback from 12 to 9.9 feet to build an addition.
Madam Chair, the petitioner did submit some letters in support. I sent them via email, but I have hard copies here if anybody wants to look
Does
at them.
anyone want to, did everyone get the?
I saw them.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry, go ahead.
Hi, I'm Laurie Reddy.
Mark, ready?
Welcome. All right, so you are seeking a variance to reduce the side setback, and in order for the board to issue a variance, we need to find that there's a hardship. Yeah, I did not grab the statute with me. So the hardship, there's a statute that says we need to find that there's a hardship owing to the particular circumstances of the lot, and it's the real estate. So typically, it's, for example, the change in elevation, the slope on a lot, or there's ledge on a lot, or there's wetlands on a lot, or there's something about the real estate itself that essentially compels you to not be able to comply with the setback. So I'd be interested in hearing what the hardship is that you rely on for the variance.
We're thinking it's the topography of the lot. As you can see, it goes at an angle instead of square. If it was square, it would not be an issue, but due to the angle, cuts the 12 feet to the 9.9 at the farthest point of the addition.
Okay. So I see that you have a little bump out addition on the other side of the property. Did you consider, looks like you have stairs down from your deck?
Yes.
If you just flip the location of those, the orientation of the stairs, and then have another little notched edge, to bring the addition in, you could,
We did look into that, but if you go over to that side, there's 2 bathrooms on top of each other. Therefore, the existing bathrooms would no longer have windows, which, I think would be tough in a bathroom situation, lead to mold.
all right, let me ask if any other members of the board have any questions?
Yes. This is all within the fence, right?
Yeah.
I see the fence along the white picket fence, so this would all be within the white fence?
Yes, yes.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else in the audience who cares to be heard in connection with this request for variance at Katarina Lane? Any other discussion or comments?
Just describe the addition. I know you mentioned that you're going to be putting a bathroom in there.
No, the bathrooms are looking out to the backyard, the bathrooms are to the right.
I see what you mean.
The
Okay.
addition, just be 2 floors up and down, 20 by 15.
And did you ever consider having a little notch out, or at least not having your addition be 15? Because if you build a smaller addition, you can comply with the side setback. Or even just do something on that back corner there to comply with the side setback. Was that ever considered?
We did look into that, but it's not as simple as just coming back a foot, and now within the parameters, we'd have to come back about 6 feet. So we'd have to make the addition 6 feet shorter to get to the 12 feet.
Oh, no, I meant actually not making it 15 feet wide down at the end, not the length.
Yeah, you mean the width?
Yep.
Not going all the way to the end? Yeah, I mean, we did think that, but that's, doesn't line up, and it's kind of awkward looking.
Awkward looking, and then you'd have, I'd probably even be more of a financial burden too, because of how the roof and the
Exactly.
sit on that, right? I mean,
Yeah.
as I think of things, but.
How does the board wish to proceed?
I'll make a motion to approve the variance based on the shape of the lot.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that passed 4-1. A decision needs to be prepared and filed in the city clerk's office, and no building permit will issue until the 20-day appeal period expires without anyone challenging the issuance of the variance, okay? So if you have any questions of the timing, it typically takes like a week for the decision to be filed, but you can always reach out to Mr. Dixon. Okay?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome. The next item on the agenda is the petition of Serato Signs, 3 Street, Worcester, and Madison Woburn Holdings, seeking a variance in connection with a secondary wall sign at Starbucks on Washington Street. Hi, good evening.
All right, good evening. Sean McGlone with Serato Signs. I was actually here in November for this same
Yes,
property,
I
the same
remember.
sign package. I think there was a little bit of confusion or miscommunication between us and Tom after the ZBA meeting back in November. Back in November, we proposed the sign package, and the board has suggested removing the blade sign to be within the sign guidelines or the bylaws. And when I was here, we were talking about the south elevation of the building being the primary side of the building. I guess the primary side of the building is being deemed the side that faces the street, which I believe is the west elevation. That 6-foot siren is permitted for. On the primary side of the building, we're allowed 64 square feet of signage, well, 64.66 square feet of signage, and the siren on the primary side of the building is 28.26. I'm here in front of the board to hopefully get approval for the secondary signage on the south elevation, which is another 6-foot diameter siren, and Starbucks letters, which by the bylaw, the secondary signage cannot exceed half of the allowable signage on the primary side of the building. With those two secondary signs on the south elevation, we're totaling 45.44 square feet, which does exceed the half. The 6-foot siren on the south elevation is justified towards the front of the building to catch oncoming traffic on Washington Street, and also traffic coming in from that entrance. The Starbucks letters are justified towards the rear of the south elevation to catch attention of pedestrians and traffic within the plaza, if you want to call it a plaza, or the shopping area, and the hotel and a couple other businesses. And then we're also looking for approval of, I guess, a third secondary sign on the east elevation, which is another 6-foot diameter siren, which is within the allowable square footage for a secondary sign. But it would be an additional second.
One more than is allowed.
Right, and that's on the back, I guess, quote unquote, the back of the building, catching pedestrians and traffic coming in from the south entrance and a few of the other businesses on the backside.
So, we don't have a plot plan on this, do we?
The aerials.
A001. Okay.
On that.
Site plan.
Plot plan?
No metal.
Well, you're right. It doesn't show the street, but
Yeah, it's just a site plan.
That's
It's
it,
the
with
page
looks
after
like
the
an
area
aerial
map.
photo?
pardon?
It's the page after the city's area map.
Oh, I got it.
8.5 by
I got
11.
it. Yeah. Yeah, so this doesn't actually show the whole site, okay. This just shows the building. So, so I always tell people I'm directionally challenged.
That's
So
fine.
this is really, not a good match of my skill set with the role that I'm in right here, being directionally challenged. So I'm gonna look at the assessor's map photo, because that shows the whole site, right? Because I need to place you in context of the site, right? My understanding is that the Starbucks location is the building that's numbered 395 on the aerial view. Do you have this that I'm looking at? Yes? Okay, so that's the Starbucks building, correct? All right. And right now, there's a siren sign on the front of that building facing Washington Street,
Yes.
right? And how big is that?
6-foot diameter, which is 28.26 square feet. With an allowable square footage of the front of the primary side being 64.66 square feet.
So, are you saying that the sign on the front could be twice as big as it is?
Technically, yes, it could.
But did Starbucks purposely keep it small so that it could try to, have 5 different smaller signs all along this
They,
building?
from all the Starbucks installs that I've been involved with, they seem to like to kind of keep consistency
Yeah,
for the brand.
sure. But they have different size. So if you call up and say, oh, I can't do a 6-foot diameter here, I need a 4-foot diameter, you can get one of those.
Correct.
Okay. So we have that one in the front. That's your primary wall sign. Then we have the ones that you were here before us for in November. And those signs are on, and I'm just going to say, as we're looking at the aerial, on the right-hand side.
Yep.
Okay? So that's the side that faces the building that has the number 369 on it, correct?
Correct.
So there's another siren sign there. And the
Towards the bottom of, I guess if you're looking at the page, it'll be towards the bottom of that wall.
yes, yeah,
yeah.
more towards the front corner?
Correct, yeah.
Okay, that was my memory. And then you have the Starbucks, are they called channel letters?
Yes.
The Starbucks channel letter is on the back, more towards the back corner, correct? Okay. And now you're here before us because you want to put another siren sign on the opposite side of the building. So on the left-hand side, looking at this aerial view that faces, all those cars that are parked there. And
The other one would be going on the back side facing,
we'll call it like the hotels, just facing back.
yeah.
Okay. Oh, so I'm sorry. So you want to put it on the back of the building, not the side?
correct, because, that side's another business. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. That's
business
no,
is.
that's why I'm doing this, so I can understand.
Yep.
All right. And so Starbucks wants to have 3 secondary wall signs at this location instead of 2.
Technically, yes.
Why is it tech?
Because last November, when I came in front of the board, the south side was kind of proposed as the primary side, 'cause that's where the main entrance is. And those two signs, the siren and the letters, were kind of was being called as the one primary sign. Then Tom had said that the primary side of the building is facing Washington Street,
Yeah.
not the main entrance side of the building, being
Right.
the south elevation.
Well, that's interesting, because it never occurred to me that when you were here in November, that you thought this sideways thing that faced the other restaurant was the primary. Because, well, whatever, it doesn't matter. Okay, and how big is the siren sign that Starbucks wants to put on the back of the building now?
6-foot diameter, 28.26 square feet.
All right. And that's how much? So the last time we were here, we had this conversation about the 3 signs that Starbucks wanted to put facing the other building exceeded. No, I think your argument was, but all 3 signs don't even add up to what's allowed, so it's okay. Am I remembering that right? Yes. Okay. And so now the argument is, but 3 signs will still be okay. Is it still going to comply with the?
The south elevation, the side of the building facing 369, those 2 signs square footage combined is 45.44, where the half of the primary, the allowable square footage on the primary side is 32.33.
All right, so the signs that you put up are too big. So the signs that you already put up.
All of these signs are already.
Sure. So you're going to have to pick one to make smaller, if the board doesn't grant the variance. And so, in addition, you want to have another sign on the back that's another 28.62, right? Close enough? Okay. Okay. So now I get what
Sorry
the
for the
current.
confusion.
No, it's not. You don't need to apologize at all. It's a challenge, and you know what? You say
even-
south side, and
Yeah.
it doesn't mean anything to me.
Even throughout the process, since I came here in November, just getting through the code and
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
up with
no
something.
worries.
It was tough to decipher
Yep,
certain things. So.
okay, so, all right, so now I get it. So let me ask if the board have any questions.
I have one question. I think at the last time you were here, we had questioned, you have the two signs, the individual channel letter, the siren on the south side, which is your main entrance. And questioning, you're going for a variance for both combined square footages on that side, is that right? If I'm correct, right?
Yeah, so
Right now,
I guess
it's
in the
a-
bylaws, it's, if you could have more than one secondary sign on the same elevation, but the combined square footage cannot exceed half of the primary allowable square
Right.
footage.
And I think we had mentioned, it might have been me, that, because that's your main entrance, you have one facing Washington Street, which is your, which is the west, and you're looking for one facing the parking lot, which is the east. The purpose of both on that main entrance, where the entrance is, if you just went with the individual channel letters, wouldn't that suffice the customer
Purpose
to
was
come in?
to draw attention just from the layout of the parking lot from other businesses, pedestrians and other traffic. And there's also, an entrance on the west side of the parking lot, coming off of Washington Street. When you come in that entrance, it's to draw attention from that entrance. And then if you're driving through and you come to the back side of 369, the channel letters is to draw attention from traffic and pedestrians from that side.
Yeah, but sometimes you have too many signs, it could be a safety concern too, right? Especially in a parking lot.
Sorry.
Sometimes you have too many signs within a small area of the parking lot, becomes a kind of a safety, because your eyes go into the siren and into the individual channel letter, right? You know what I mean, versus if it's over the main entrance. Now you're focusing to where the customers going into the store, I'm just curious why.
Yeah, that's what,
Thank you.
that was the purpose of having them split up on either end of that elevation.
Can I ask a question?
Of course.
Could you just do the channel letters on the south elevation that's basically over the door and just that, and not have the siren, and then you have the siren on the front, the west, and the siren on the back and the east?
That's
I
exactly.
mean, because I drove around that parking lot today, and I came in, over by Chick-fil-A, but then I drove all the way around, and I could clearly see, when I came up by Red Robin, what was formerly Red Robin, I could see the Starbucks and even the channel, signage. But if you maybe put it to the middle, that would at least cover that side of it, and then you could still have that back, and, the hotel is basically where you're drawing traffic from on that side.
I think that's what I was just referring to, as the south side.
Sorry.
No, you're good, just the individual channel letters. I was more concerned about the safety of cars, drivers looking at the two signs, right? You have one on one side, one on the other, and your eyes are going both ways, just a thought.
So I have the same reaction, so I'll give you mine. So I don't vote in favor of variances unless I think the legal standard is met. I don't know, but I haven't asked you. So what exactly is the hardship that relates to the soil condition, shape, or topography of this lot that Starbucks is saying causes a hardship to the extent that it has to have, 4 signs exceeding the size where only 3 of a particular size are allowed?
I guess it would be topography based on the layout of the parking lot with the multiple entrances and the multiple buildings and the multiple traffic flows around the parking lot for pedestrians and traffic.
So I had the same reaction as member Chatfield. To me, I'd be like, pick one on the south side. I agree that having one on the, and now I've marked it, so now I can say east, on the east side, facing the back of the lot. I can understand why you would want people to be able to see that, coming from the hotel or, whatever. But I don't know that having two signs on the south elevation helps at all. Like, what's the point of the siren sign? You already have one on the, right? Anyone who's coming down Washington Street, heading towards 128, is gonna see the siren sign that faces Washington Street and know, oh, hey, the Starbucks is there. And I just don't, I'm not inclined to grant the variance. I think it's like overkill, and I think our zoning code allows Starbucks to do what it wants to do in terms of putting signs on the building that let people know where to come. So I think Starbucks can comply with our zoning ordinance and have a perfectly adequate collection of signs that lets people know where to come. Anyway, so that's my input.
I agree with you on that.
Anyone in the audience care to be heard in connection with this request for a variance at Starbucks on Washington Street? So any other feedback or discussion?
I have sympathy for you because I think it's a tough location. But I also agree that there is I think you can meet the visibility with what's permitted.
So,
And back in November, when, I know you were saying what the total square footage we were under, we were deeming the south elevation as the primary side when I was here in November, being the main entrance, because those two signs combined the allowable square footage on the south elevation. The other signs were secondary, and the only sign that was in the package was the blade sign that was not, that would have been considered the third secondary sign that was taken out of the package to fall within.
sure. So I just gave back the original application. I have to say, I really have no memory of those two signs being presented as those two signs considered together being one single primary wall sign. My understanding was that the siren that faced Washington was the primary, and if I missed that, then I missed it, but, we are where we are. And I think my sense is that you're in the same position that you were in November, where there's not, so 4 members of the board would need to vote in favor of this. And I'm not going to speak for the other members, so if I'm wrong, tell me, but I don't get the sense that anyone's going to, and maybe I'll ask this. Are any of the members inclined to say that Starbucks can have 4 signs on the building in total instead of 3?
No.
Are any of the members on board inclined to say that Starbucks, they would entertain a variance to allow a larger grand total of the area of the signs? So say there's still 3 signs, but they all add up to a larger area than is allowed for under the zoning code. Is there anyone who's open to that? Okay, so I think we are where we were in November. And if I ask the board to take a vote and this is denied, then Starbucks is not going to be allowed to, it's going to have to make substantial changes to any request for relief that it seeks. It has, basically, it's like it has to sit on the bench for 2 years before asking for another variance, or it needs to come back and ask for a substantial change, like, something that's materially different than what was presented to us tonight. So I don't know if you want to take the opportunity to ask for a variance and check with Starbucks to see kind of what what instructions you're going to have based on the feedback that we gave you tonight, and I don't know if, you know, and maybe talk with the building commissioner again. So I can't really, I'm constrained that I can't give you legal advice.
Yeah, no, I understand.
But I don't want, so basically, you're gonna have to decide, do you want us to vote? Or do you want us or do you want to ask for a continuance? And if you want to make a phone call or something, no, I really, I don't want to put you on the spot.
Yeah, no, I understand that.
So how do you want us to proceed?
I would say, let me make a phone call, but I don't think my contact is gonna answer his phone.
Yeah, sure, but you know what,
I
we
can
have,
do a continuance, I guess.
all right, do you want to ask for a continuance?
I mean, yeah, if I ask for continuance and they say, well, let's take one of the signs off the south elevation.
And then you, well,
Send an email to our clerk there, and then
Right.
withdraw without prejudice, and we
Yeah.
can just make a
Yeah,
quick
which I think
motion.
is
yeah,
what
that's
which is
kind of
why I
what we
ended
did
up doing
last time. Right,
was-
Yeah.
yeah,
All right, so yeah, I'll do that so I can,
yeah, get some feedback.
yeah.
Okay, so we have a form for everyone who,
Yeah.
you may recall.
I do.
So our clerk will give you that. All right, how does the board wish to proceed? The petitioner's request for a variance?
Make a motion to continue to our regularly scheduled meeting in April.
Second.
All in favor? All right, so that passed. So if Starbucks wants to continue to ask for relief, see you on April 16th, or if they decide to go down some other path that doesn't require them to come back before the board, so they can reach out to Vincent. We would ask for something in writing if it's going to be a withdrawal.
Yes.
Okay? All right, thank you
Thank
for
you
your
very much.
time.
Have a good night.
You too.
Thank you.
All right, the next item on our agenda is approval of the meeting minutes from our February meeting. I have reviewed that, and I did not have any edits or suggestions. I don't know if anyone else has any comments.
No, it looked good.
No,
So then I would ask for a motion to approve the February 19th meeting minutes.
so moved.
Second.
All in favor? Okay. Are accepted, and I am not aware of any other matter that is legally before the board this evening.
I just had a quick question when it comes to our variances. Are they still filing them the old way?
So, yes.
Just seeing this, I didn't see like those, we were gonna try and get some questions in to start answering conditions about the
So-
land.
Danny, I wasn't sure, Member Parrish, I wasn't sure if I had the final version. So actually, this week, I reached out to Member Ryan and the chair to see if this was the final version, had him look it, I had Member Ryan look it over. He obviously is not here tonight.
Right, and
He's going to get back to me about that, and
no
I'm
problem.
going to,
take your time on it, you just kinda got back
Hopefully-
to, so,
very soon, we're going to be able to post that online, and we'll get the new version of the application.
okay.
But I appreciate the question.
Okay.
But there is some progress.
All right, thank you.
All right, so having nothing else, any other questions?
Mo-
You were gonna go right to the.
Just a quick thing, the April 16th, I may not be able to be here, but if the other member's not here, then I can, or if somebody, I can make arrangements.
Okay, appreciate that.
I haven't bought plane tickets yet.
Do you have any idea about April 16th? Okay. Buy your plane ticket.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now I would request a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Favor? All right, we are adjourned until April 16th.